2 North Korean soldiers have been captured inside of the Kursk Oblast. That was what was announced this morning via Zelensky on Telegram. And this is such a big story. I don't think people are understanding how important this is. For the past, well, really since August, there have been rumbles that North Korea was getting ready to send troops in with Russia to try to invade Ukraine. There have been countries and world leaders that have been denying that this is even happening. And now there is proof right in front of everyone's face that yes, they are here and Russia is trying to cover it up. So let's just back up for a second here. Russia right now has a partnership with North Korea, in which North Korea provides missiles, shells, and other equipment, and soldiers. These soldiers originally were only coming here for trainings, and they were going to get some experience, and then go back. Essentially, North Korea sent their most skilled guys. And you're probably saying, well, what is North Korea getting out of this? And well, it's kind of fuzzy on that because we've learned that they're getting fighter jets, they're getting things for their nuclear program, and essentially money, gas, oil. That's where it comes down to. And while, of course, North Korea will deny doing any of this stuff with Russia, this is proof that it's going on. All in total, we know that Russia got roughly about 12,000 of these North Korean troops inside their country for training. And Russia, I guess maybe in their way of training, didn't really do much. We saw photos from inside these camps in which these North Korean soldiers were getting trained for, and let's just say they weren't getting the best equipment or training. And from those bases, they were shipped over to Russia's Kursk Oblast, or which is a region or a state. They were moved there so that they could defend the Russian border, because back in August, Ukrainians opened up a new front, pushing into the Russian Kursk Oblast, essentially trying to push in there enough to use that as a bargaining chip when it comes to negotiations, such as, we have your land here, you have ours here, let's go ahead and give you your land back, and you give us this. Since that time, Russia has had a very hard time pushing back Ukrainians. So they called on another country to say pretty much, hey, how about you help us invade Ukraine? And Kim being Kim went, sure, what can you give us? And you can see what kind of happens there. Over the past, really, 2 months, we've seen a crazy amount of action for the North Koreans, and thanks to intercepted conversations between Russians inside the country, some of which work in the hospitals, we're finding out these North Koreans are not prepared and they're taking very high casualties. We've heard numbers as high as 3,500 North Koreans had been either injured or taken out. That leads us to what's going on here. Ukrainians opened up a new front, and in that front, they're pushing deeper and deeper into Kursk, which, I have to say, we don't know what the status is. You know, once operations like that get underway, things kind of just quiet down, it's media silence. I mean, we have seen some stuff on the Russian Telegram channels, but that's about it. We have seen videos in which North Korean soldiers are fighting physically, and I mean close combat, to Ukrainians. And one of those cities in which Ukrainians are seeing a lot of North Koreans is towards Suja, one of the larger ones in which Ukrainians currently control. And we're seeing videos and photos of these guys, essentially via drone. You could see these guys kind of pushing out these soldiers. And in doing so, we're finding out that they indeed captured 2 North Korean soldiers. In Zelensky's announcement, we don't know exactly where these soldiers were taken from in the Kursk Oblast, just that it was in Kursk. And it's amazing that these guys were even captured to begin with, because the Russians, and I'm not trying to sound messed up, but this is true, we're told that if they're injured, meaning the North Koreans, that they should take care of them. And that's one side of it. The other side of it is, North Koreans had also sort of agreed to each other that if we're captured, or we're about to be captured, it is better for our family if we take ourselves out. Because they don't want it getting back to their family in North Korea that they were captured. They're worried that something could happen to their family. And so if you go back about a week and a half ago, a North Korean soldier was captured but then died from his injuries. And we don't know if that's because he took care of the situation or what. In this case, they were able to capture 2 men who, yes, were injured, but Ukraine took them from the front lines. They gave them medical care, and now they're interviewing them. According to Zelensky here, it says, these 2 soldiers, although wounded, survived, were taken to Kyiv, and are communicating with the SBU. Why would they be communicating with the SBU? That's because, A, they're going to get intel about where Russia is, their techniques, and what they're doing. And B, South Korea already said to Ukraine, if you capture these guys, we would like to go ahead and interview them and talk to them. Because there's a lot of intel that South Korea could get from North Korean soldiers. Things that I'm pretty sure they could probably find on their own, but it really truly is verified stuff they can get from these guys. That being said, we got pictures and videos of these guys. Zelensky, even in his announcement, says he instructed the security service of Ukraine to provide journalists with access to these prisoners so that the world can actually see that these guys are here. They're inside of Russia. They're fighting Ukrainians. And essentially, if Russia did push Ukraine out of Kursk, they could be going into Ukraine. Russia invited their baddies into Ukraine to fight them. That's what we're looking at. I will say a few different things on the matter here. Out of the 12,000, Ukrainians took out a decent amount because Russia uses very strange methods to take land. While Ukrainians don't have as many soldiers, they have high skill. They got great equipment. Not everything they need. They have enough just to survive, but they are highly skilled and great equipment. On the Russian side, it's the exact opposite. They're not highly skilled. They don't have the best equipment, but they have a lot of men. So what Russia does, they use a method called the meat grinder. That is when you just shove as many men into a position as possible, trying to overpower your opponent, which unfortunately means there's a lot of high casualty rates. And that's why today we see numbers of over 800,000 Russians have been taken out or injured in all of this. Today's number is 806,500. In just the past 24 hours, Russia lost 1,570, also 70 tanks, 28 artillery, and 18 armed vehicles. But Russia can only sustain this method for so long, which is why they started running out of men for a little bit, and then they asked North Korea, hey, since you're helping us with shells, why don't you bring some guys over here? And so these 2 guys are part of that group, and we have a decent amount of information about them. One of them born in 1995, another one in 2005, which is strange to me because these guys are younger than me. Russia pretty much asked North Korea for their highly skilled guys, and they're younger than me, and they're over there fighting with Russia to try to push back Ukraine and essentially going into Ukraine. There's enough proof out there that Russia is doing this. And yes, there's countries that don't believe it. But these guys are straight up talking to the SBU saying that, yes, we are North Koreans. We were sent from North Korea to Russia to be trained. And we were not supposed to be going to war. That's what they're saying in this. And the SBU says that in their Telegram post by saying it is noteworthy that the prisoner, like the Russian military at the beginning of the full-scale invasion, emphasizes that he was supposedly going for training and not going to war against Ukraine. Yet, here they are, fighting on the front lines. There's a few things that we are finding out. When these guys were captured, this is how Russia's trying to cover up that they have North Korean soldiers. These guys were given documents in Russian that states that they're from Russia, changing a lot of the things so that they are looking like they're just regular Russian people who are fighting for their country. And it's funny because it's one thing to have documents that say that you're Russian, but these guys only speak Korean. And in order to even speak to these guys, they had to call a translator, probably more than likely from South Korea, to speak to these guys. And the guys are saying that they are from North Korea. There is so much evidence here saying that, yes, Russia has brought soldiers from North Korea to fight off Ukraine. So if any country or leader for that matter, is saying, no, that's not true, that's not true. The evidence is here. And Zelensky wants the world to know. He wants interviews to go on with these guys so that they can hear their stories, they can see what's going on, which, believe it or not, many people don't realize this. For the most part, when Russians are captured, they get put on camera. And a lot of those interviews can be found on YouTube. You can actually look them up. A lot of them don't have translations, so I do apologize. Start learning Ukrainian now. But we're seeing how North Korea is fully involved. And I know we always bring up the World War stuff. Well, countries helping countries. Russia has been getting helped from every baddie country you could imagine. Iran, sure, drones, missiles, here you go. You've got North Korea, you need some troops, you need some shells, you need some this, here, go right ahead. China, hey, we're not giving them anything, but they're giving them parts. They're helping them get around sanctions. And they're buying gas and oil. China is pretty much giving them money. I mean, that's how you have to look at it. They're teaming up in order to try to conquer Ukraine. Just think about that for a second there. And I know the Russians will argue and say, well, NATO and the EU and the United States are helping Ukraine. Yeah, because they're being invaded, a peaceful country. And I always have to remind folks that this has been going on longer than the past 2.5 years. It goes longer even past 2014. And, you know, if you go back to Lex Fridman's interview, ignore Lex, but listen to Zelensky. Because Zelensky explains a lot about ceasefires and things that happen and countries that helped. I mean, Belarus, Lukashenko, I still can't believe that he called and apologized. I mean, I believe it happened, but then his team came out and said, oh, no, that never happened. We never apologized. Zelensky has never lied during this war. He's been honest every single step of the way. And so you're seeing these countries team up together to go against Ukraine. And people who start saying, oh, is there going to be a world war? Is there going to be a world war? Countries already started picking sides and already starting to help. This brings it back to my main point here. North Korean soldiers being in Russia fighting Ukraine is just straight up evidence that Russia plans to not only continue this war, but also involve more and more nations. And you can make the argument, oh, well, these guys said, oh, they didn't know they were going to fight. And they were just going for trainings, which... I mean, what did you think when someone was shooting at you from across the way? You thought that was a training? Do you see what's going on there? But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I want to thank you guys for joining me as we're seeing the ban of TikTok getting closer and closer. I'll be doing more long-form videos on here, but I'll also be putting on the same short videos that we have on TikTok on YouTube Shorts on this channel. So if you're here for the shorts, you can actually just watch those videos. If you're here for the long form stuff, we've got more explainer videos like this. We also have all the videos from when I was in Ukraine about 2 months ago, which will be going on this channel. I just need to find the time to edit them. The TikTok ban stuff really honestly got me a little off focused as we were doing interviews and doing a bunch of cool stuff, which a shout out to the BBC and CBS. And this week, we have a couple things going on. We have one with a congressman on Thursday. On Monday, we're going to be on the Stock Exchange Network, which is kind of awesome. I want to thank you guys for joining me. It's going to be interesting if TikTok is fully banned, but I'll be sure to find ways to get you guys content here on YouTube or on Blue Sky or on X or hopefully Twitter. I'll see you guys later. Stay safe.